Hey there, I'm just biting the bullet here and sharing some news about what I've been going through and also some of the changes that I want to do with this Feel Good Astrology channel. I've had so many messages from people, emails from people saying, "Oh, I'm missing what you do. Where's your forecast? I hope you're okay." Because I started to go a bit quiet around the time of the full moon in December, right at the moment where we had Mercury and Mars going retrograde, absolutely like hitting me in such a hard way in my birth chart. But really what's been going on is kind of symptomatic of what's going on in my chart. So what I want to do in this kind of like short update is run through some of the changes I want to do, talk about what my aim is a little bit, and also show you what's been going on for me in my chart, and also what's been going on for my husband as well, because he's gone through his second Saturn return just as I've been going through my Chiron return. And that's not all, like we've been going through so much together at the same time, which I think really speaks about, the layering of aspects. That's, I guess, one of the overarching themes with this is, I get messages from people who are maybe a bit worried about, Pluto going into, a square with one of their natal planets. And of course, that is going to be felt. I've got one of those going on right now. It's absolutely felt. And I would also always advise people not to get too worried about it. It's always important to look to see how many similar aspects you've got going on. So is it just a Pluto square? Have you got another layer, and have you got another layer and another layer? Because the more of these layers go on, it becomes a lot bigger. It has a lot more impact. So I guess where I want to start, and I'll start with the practical things, because I know a lot of people who watch my channel now are watching purely for the forecasts. And why not? I think the world is, quite difficult for a lot of people right now. And a lot of people just want a heads up about, how they can feel a bit more relaxed, a bit more soothed in their life and stuff. And so I do the forecast, or I have done the forecast historically. I used to do them once a month, over the last 8 years or so, not on this channel, but on all of my other channels. I've done, a monthly forecast and a new moon and full moon. And then I started doing weekly forecasts while still also doing the full moon and the new moon, and also a monthly update, and also when planets go into signs. And so it got a bit over the top. What I want to do now to make sure that I don't burn out, but also that I can consistently give real help, is I'm going to be doing forecasts on a fortnightly basis. So from new moon to full moon, I'll do a forecast, taking you through that waxing cycle for every sign of the zodiac. And then from full moon to new moon, I'm going to do another 2-week forecast for every sign of the zodiac, going through the waning phase. I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do it this way earlier. I think I got really caught up with the difference between man-made time and planetary time. Of course, as an astrologer, I live in planetary time, but we live in this real world of man time. And so, the weekly forecast, doing it from every Sunday, it would be out there. And then at the beginning of every new month, doing a monthly forecast starting on the 1st of the month doesn't make sense, because mid-month, around the 20th or up to the 24th, the sun changes signs. So it kind of makes sense to do things now that I've realized this. I really want to embrace planetary time. So I'm going to organize it new moon to full moon to new moon, and that should capture most things and give you a really good forecast. Now, one of the things that I've gone through, and you'll see this in a minute when I share the layering that's been going on in my chart and also my husband's chart, and how our charts fit together as well. One of the things about me is I'm a massive people pleaser. So more than anything, I really, really want to help, And, when I hear people are struggling, I just go deeper and deeper into wanting to help more and more and more. And, it gets dysfunctional, I'll be honest. I got my moon in Pisces. You have a look at my chart, you'll see where I'm dysfunctional. I can hold my hand up to that, no problems. We all have areas of dysfunction, and mine is people pleasing. And so trying to keep my forecast to man time and also planetary time, I was doing so much and wanting to give like as much as I could. And I realized, I just can't do that. I can't keep up with it. Then I wasn't able to do my client work. And it just got too much for me. So in future, I'm going to keep my forecasts on a moon cycle basis, offering, a good overview for anyone that's interested in astrology. And then for people who really like my deep dives, I'm going to be doing a deeper dive for each sign of the zodiac, and also include private material that's that I don't share for free. So for instance, I'll be looking at your fortnightly relationship and connection forecast. I guess you could call that love. I'll also be looking at career and ambitions over each 2-week forecast and much deeper level on a sign by sign basis, which also includes money. I'll also be doing a deeper dive into your personal growth and wellness, which is also like your health and also your home. So, here's what I'm planning. And again, this may be subject to change, but this is, I've been mulling this over for the last couple of months. And in fact, I've been mulling it over for a couple of years, but haven't had the chance to do it. But here's what I really want to do. So every 2 weeks, there is a sign by sign forecast for, whichever moon phase we're in. And then for those who want a much deeper connection to me, to each other, to the learning, and to enjoy astrology together, then there'll be a paid for subscription where I go deeper into love, deeper into money, and deeper into the home and wellness and things like that. That way, because here's another thing. I recognize that over the last year, especially as my channel's grown, that I've really wanted to keep my existing clients or my existing subscribers who love deep dives. I really want to keep them happy. And yet my deeper dives are the things that put people off from subscribing to my channel. A lot of people that are lifting my channel up, which obviously helps me, are the people that just stop in to get their weekly or fortnightly or monthly astrology. So I need to put a kind of like open window kind of view to capture people, to lift my channel up. And I also want to find a place where I can adequately create an ongoing conversation with people at a much deeper level without shooting myself in the foot. Seeing as a lot of the people who really love astrology are somehow sponsoring me or having readings with me and things like that, I am going to create a proper membership with some real quality, where you can reach me and where we can interact together. Something else that I've been kind of working through is trying to understand what my role is. Because obviously most people here know me for astrology, but really that's not completely where my heart's at. I love astrology, but it's a tool. It's not who I am. And so I've been doing a lot of not really rebranding, but really reconsidering what my message is. And again, I think this is where YouTube's great to bring people, like bring me to the awareness of people. YouTube's fantastic. But how do I get to know people? I think that is something that probably exists slightly out of YouTube. Really what I'm about, and I've been revisiting this a lot more, is about how to be steady during these times of change and how to work in a very light way. On the one hand, I offer free readings, like on my weekly Ask Louisa quick pop-up astrology show. And, I do my forecasts to sort of help people interact with astrology. But really what is in my heart is to help people evolve, to help people realize the patterns that might be limiting them, to help people wake up to their own patterns, and to help people become their own astrologers. And I think that's my key focus in this year ahead. Is I want to help people become their own astrologers. I want to, if I could just work on teaching the whole time and feel secure in my physical life, my material life, that's what I would do, commit to that completely. So I'm veering away from doing as many personal readings. I want to help people explore things, maybe in small workshops and groups and things like that. I really want to help the tool of astrology go further. And of course, you know, when I can connect with people at a more intimate level, I think some of my other skills will come out. You might see that I'm doing other projects for New Reality TV. You know, years ago, my husband had, in fact, it's how I met him. He had a channel called The Barefoot Broadcast, where he would interview people, light workers from all different disciplines and modalities. And that's how I met him. I got in touch to see if he needed an astrologer. At that time, believe it or not, he had Steve Judd as his resident astrologer. So I wasn't successful in applying for that. However, you know, I did find a husband. And so right now we are interviewing more light workers on New Reality TV. And that lights me up because for me, consciousness doesn't have to just be about astrology, but it can be, you know, any number of things. But I think it's about an ongoing conversation and creating a sense of community, a sense of cohesion, a sense of like a direction that we're all maybe growing in and all helping each other out in. So I'm really committed to that. So again, I don't want to go over the top and keep doing work on my channel that is also kind of stopping me from what lights me up in my world. So yeah, there's been a shift. Anyway, let me talk a bit more about layering. I am going through a lot of changes, and you'll see this if you can understand your birth chart as I go through this. You'll see why I'm going through such a big shift right now. So it might change a little bit, but here we go. So there's loads of dots everywhere. So the most significant thing that I've been going through is a Chiron return. Funnily enough, in about an hour's time exactly, I'm going to go live with my husband, and we're going to talk sort of generically about my Chiron return, his second Saturn return, and what that means. You know, because if we all live beyond 50 or 60, we'll all have 2 Saturn returns, and we'll all have had a Chiron return. And I think they are significant. They are helping us to stand up in the world. They're helping us to, you know, find our place and know what's going on for us. So yeah, I've been going through my Chiron return, which is definitely a coming of age. It happens, you know, like mine started when I was 49. I just turned 50 in December, and I've literally, yesterday was its last exact conjunction. So it is now easing off for me, but I've been experiencing this. I think it went exact in my chart, I think 3 times off the top of my head. And they were very, very intense times, but you kind of feel it coming in because Chiron moves so slowly. It's just here. There's my natal Chiron. You know, it is coming up. It's really, really kind of right on it at the moment. So it went over it, went backwards over it. Actually, it doesn't look like it's gone over it at all. Maybe I've got my dates wrong, but I'm pretty much right in the middle of it. I know it eases off in February. So yeah, the Chiron's a wounded healer. And so when Chiron comes back to where it was at the time, place, and date of your birth, every insecurity that you've got, like most of these happen in childhood, they come up and you really feel them. And so it's weird, like you become almost like a 50-year-old baby. So all the things that you haven't quite resolved about yourself, including things that you'd completely forgotten about, they seem to come up in, you know, it might not be your next door neighbor that's pulling your hair and making you cry, but there might be somebody in your neighborhood that does something that makes you feel exactly as belittled as you felt as a child. And so my insecurities that have come up over the last couple of years, I guess I've been reminded of bullying. I've been reminded of lots of different things, but in particular in this last week about how insecure I am about my body, about being a redhead, about having pale skin, which seems so crazy. But it's not necessarily an aspect that is rational. It's really not rational, because most of our wounds happen when we can't cope with rational, when we don't know what rationality is, you know, when we're these feeling things, we're these tiny little infants reacting to the world around us. And so, you know, for me, a lot of rejections come up. I felt very rejected, not because anyone's been rejecting me, but because the old beliefs that I've held about myself, that made me believe that there was something wrong with me, something abhorrent about me, something disgusting about me. Anywhere where you have kind of levels of self-disgust or self-rejection. I mean, that's been a real key thing for me. And when I'm mulling things over, I do tend to go quiet. So it's what's happened on my channel, obviously, as I've been trying to work out, how to go forwards. And also how to deal with trolls, because that's kind of hard. So I was getting quite a lot of trolling last year, which can really affect your levels of self-esteem and stuff. So yeah, that's all come up. So I've been working a lot on that, and yeah, it took me by surprise. I have to say, I wasn't quite expecting it. I knew it was coming, and obviously I'd worked with lots of clients that had already been through it, so I knew kind of what might happen. And I tried to get as much healing done as, like becoming aware of your patterns, I think can really, really help loosen it. But even with preparation, there've been times when I felt very insecure about myself, very insecure about my offering, very insecure about just how I'm being in the world. And now I've come out feeling a lot more humble. I really recognize that, even though I offer advice, quite frequently on my channel, that doesn't mean that I'm any better than anyone else. I go through the same stuff as you guys do. So yeah, it's been very humbling. You realize that you are just like every other human. We are frail. We're here to learn about ourselves, I guess, and about this human experience. So yeah, that's really, really come up. Something else which is a bit harder to detect, but no less serious and insidious. So, I'm born at the time of, I'm born with my sun in a conjunction to the galactic center. So that's one of my hallmark conjunctions. Now, the galactic center is like the center of the universe. So I've always felt like a channel. From an early age, I used to see different things. I used to give messages to people. I used to do spontaneous healing. I didn't know what that was, as a 4 or 5 year old. I was always attracted to plants and creatures, always wanting to, I was always questioning everything, like why, like, why are we here? What is the point of this human existence? I couldn't understand it all. So that's kind of been with me all, like a lot of my life. And so one of the things that I've been trying to work out my whole life is, how can I be my cosmic self whilst being in this very sort of narrative driven, very materialistic world that is very rational. I'm the, I guess, the epitome of irrationality. That's how rational people would call me. I would say intuitive, and I feel the cosmic flows. Astrology is just one way that I use to interpret the cosmic flows. But of course, I don't just use astrology. I do use my hands. I do use my senses. I do get messages. I do get visions in my mind. It's multi-sensory. To call myself an astrologer is not really, I guess a channel is probably what I really am, truthfully. So anyway, this is part of my core identity. It's where my sun is. Now Neptune has been going backwards and forwards into a square with my sun. Now, Neptune, yeah, it really does bring a sense of, on a good day, when Neptune is really positively aspected in your chart, Neptune brings up, I think it can bring up a sense of oneness and connection, like a beautiful, rich feeling of connection and peace, and all of those higher sort of cosmic vibrations and attitudes that I really feel in my heart really strongly. I know there's some truth there. And yet on the negative side of Neptune, it really shows us where we might be delusional. It shows us where we might deceive ourselves. It can really bring up some very deep doubts in ourselves. And so for me, this position of Neptune has been much harder to see in my chart. Actually, it was Alexandra Jowett from Jupiter Returns that said, "Mate, you're going through your Jupiter, sorry, Neptune is in a square with your sun. You are aware of this?" And I'd kind of like, because I've always got my head in other people's charts. I hadn't really noticed, but thank you, Alexandra. Oh my God. So anyway, yeah, Neptune has been in a long-term square with the sun and also the galactic center, with my sun and the galactic center. And so I've had some real doubts and confusion about my self-image. Not necessarily like how I look on a day-to-day. There's not much I can do about that. I could pay to have a makeover, but I'm not that vain. But the Neptune in a square to the sun, I've been wondering, who am I? So not about my outward appearance, though Chiron's brought that up as an insecurity, but Neptune in a square to the sun, and the sun in my chart has made me think, well, what am I doing here? What is my role? What's my purpose? And of course, I've always had that strong sense of this is what I'm here for. And so I think over this last year, I realized I've got so much into giving out these free forecasts and kind of trying to appeal to as many people as possible. And of course, why wouldn't I? I mean, that's what everyone else seems to do as well. And, we are in a materialistic world, and I do need to earn a living. And it's free advertising. YouTube's great for that. But I felt out of alignment with who I am. I really want something deeper and more cosmic. So yeah, I've been working out, who am I? Really, what am I here to do? Am I meant to be doing forecasts? Because on their own, forecasts aren't enough to sustain me. I want to be working with people. And I realize I'm a teacher. So that's been a real sort of like deep, a sort of deep calling. Right now, this is just a little bit that's also coming into play. The tightest thing in my chart is Neptune in a conjunction with the North Node. It's the tightest. It's just like 5 little minutes of arc separation from Neptune and the North Node. So it's tight. And right now, the North Node is coming into that exact conjunction. I think there's been 3 or 4 of them since I've been born. So I was born with it. Now it's coming around for, I think, the 4th time. I will do a separate show about this probably. So I think that's really bringing, cosmically right now, we're coming up to a point that really resonates in my chart with my cosmic coding. And so everything that this Neptune North Node conjunction means is really coming up as a big theme. And of course, Neptune, its highest vibration, I think, is unity consciousness, oneness, peace, to be committed to peace, to be committed to upliftment and the creativity that comes from it. Like it's about divinity, I think, the divine. And so the North Node is showing, what do we struggle with in our direction, in our legacy. And so I realize I've got to get a lot more divine and to really tune in and to honor, I guess, the skills that I'm bringing and not kind of be so flippant with them. And also to recognize myself as as a being of light and to start behaving like that. So it's difficult for me, like, how do I do that and also stay very grounded? I do struggle with that. Also, we've got Jupiter and Saturn that have been giving me quite a bit of jip. So Jupiter and Saturn have been in an ongoing square since the summer, and they're still going to be in their square until June of 2025. Thankfully, I'm out of the danger zone of it. But Jupiter, in his position over the last year into kind of now, has been in opposition to my Mars, Neptune, and North Node. So again, that North Node and Neptune theme has been really strong, and also has been in a square to my natal Jupiter, Moon, and Ceres conjunction. Similarly, Saturn has been going over Moon, Ceres, Jupiter, and has been square my Mars, Neptune, North Node. So this is where like layering really comes in. You can see that, this Jupiter Saturn square has kind of created lots of layers of conflicting aspects for me, as has Neptune and my Sun. Then you add in Chiron return, and it starts to get quite intense. Pluto's position, Pluto's been dancing around here. Pluto is sort of been in quite an exact square to my Uranus as well. So, there's this like, I guess, hang on, Jupiter and Saturn have created lots of frustration. So any of my dysfunctional patterns that I've had since birth with this massive square, about how I can be, my kind of dreamlike self, in this very sort of materialistic place, that's been a continuous theme. But then Pluto here, coming into the square with Uranus, is absolutely wanting to smash those patterns to smithereens. So, the Pluto and Saturn squares, I felt as intense pressure and frustration. Like I've wanted to do more. I've wanted to do more and more and more and more. And the more I've done, the more helpless I've got, the more tired I've got, the more ill. I'm embarrassed to share this, but just as I stopped working around, doing my forecasts on my channel, in December, my voice, I was having real difficulties with my voice because I was doing so many forecasts and so much client work that my voice just couldn't keep up with it. I was having to clear my throat all the time. So that was the first thing that sort of gave me a heads up that maybe I need to not use my voice right now. But then I got this ear infection, and the side of my face swelled up. So I couldn't hear as well in one ear. And that took quite a long time to resolve. I'm not a massive fan of antibiotics or, getting out the big guns. So I've healed it naturally, and also with the help of my Spooky 2 machine, which I love. But yeah, it's really challenged me. And then my hair started falling out in clumps, just coming out. So I cut my hair so it didn't look so obvious. So there was really something big shifting. I always think you can't have a massive shift unless you allow yourself to break down, and so my body has been showing me that I've got something going on with my senses that's not quite right at the moment. And there's something going on with my sort of image, like my hair's coming out. So yeah, it's really not me for six, I have to say. So, maybe there you can see this kind of layering, this ongoing layering. It's intense. The last thing that's really topped it off is, Mars going retrograde. Mars is one of my rulers and Pluto's the other ruler of my chart, because I've got Scorpio rising. So, Mars has been going retrograde. He's going to get to my Saturn and then turn around. So he's applying to my Saturn. Saturn's about limitations, and also where we need to be quite disciplined. Saturn isn't a very sort of high vibration. Saturn gives us some pretty strong lessons to learn. And so I'm having to rein it back in. And so Saturn's going retrograde Mars is going retrograde. He's going to turn around on the 24th of Feb. So I know things are going to start to improve. I've never really felt a Mars retrograde quite so seriously as this before, but I've not had a Mars retrograde really impact my planets so much. But of course, this is just like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And, Mars will go forwards from the 24th of Feb, so that should get easier. But Pluto and Mars have also been in an opposition. They're not exactly in an opposition at the moment, but they're going to go into their third and final opposition at the end of April. So again, when they come out of opposition, my two ruling planets in opposition, that has also been hard. So I think things are going to speed up from the end of Feb and also from the end of April for me. And, things will all start to work their way out and I'll get into my flow again. But yes, it created quite the jam. Now, my husband's also gone for his Saturn return. So here's a quick peek of our charts together, just in case you're interested. We've got quite a strong synastry chart, not the kind of synastry chart that everyone would want necessarily, because we are both really triggering each other, and so we're in a relationship that where we're realizing stuff about ourselves, stuff that's sometimes a bit difficult. And we're kind of coaching each other or listening to each other, sometimes ignoring each other. But, it's like we have to face ourselves in this relationship. It is quite confrontational at times. And and it's the most precious thing I've got in my life, apart from my kids. So this is like quite confrontational in as much as I'm learning loads about myself, and he is as well. But it also absolutely glues us together. You'll notice here we've got our angles in pretty much the same place. So if one of us goes through a change, i.e. a planet moves over here or here, we both go through that change at pretty much the same time. In the last couple of years, we both had Uranus going over our angles and Saturn going over our angles in a square to each other at the same time. That was intense. But anyway, recently, so like Mars retrograde, so my Saturn's here, that's where Mars is retrograding to. It's also retrograding to his sun. So it's not just me that's felt a slowdown in my energy. This is resetting him and helping him come into his own responsibility, which is exactly what's been happening. He's had his Saturn return because he's about to turn 60 this year. Where's his Saturn? Lost it. Oh yeah, down here. So he's had his Saturn return, whilst Saturn's been going over this really strong part of my chart. His Saturn return is also in opposition to his natal Pluto and Uranus, which is also quite tough. And his Saturn return has obviously been square to both our North Node and South nodes, because we've got the opposing nodes as well, which, by the way, does create quite a frisson of attraction in people. There's a lot of people out there with 9.5 years difference. Jupiter here has been going, because he's got his Jupiter return, which also happens around about the age of 60, 59, 60. So he's gone through his Jupiter return, which has also been in an opposition to my planets here, and also square his Saturn and my Jupiter. So, Jupiter and Saturn has been affecting both of us. This is one of the difficulties with layering, but also when your chart and your husband or wife's chart or partner's chart or children's charts, when our charts align, which they do, because, we attract people because we're similar to them. We have a similar vibration. When one of us goes through a change, the other goes through it naturally with you. So that's been big. Also, if Pluto, right now it's down here in Aquarius, if Pluto is square my Uranus, Pluto is also square his moon. So, we've also got that going on. And the sign of Scorpio is important to both of us. So, I've got my ascendant here. It's my ruling planet. For Carl, my husband, Scorpio is like ruling the angle to do with his home and also his moon. So the Mars-Pluto opposition that's been going on has been affecting his feelings of safety and security and his emotions and psyche, and also my body and my energy levels. So there's a lot going on. So there you go. That's what's been going on. I can see there's a couple of comments. Mother Mulberry, bless you. Oh man, those breaking down periods are a double-edged sword. Hello everyone. Thank you so much. They really are. Hoping to have a fruit change with my cancer. Oh yeah, I get you there. I totally get you. Yeah, so I mean, we really do go through these changes together, I think. And yeah, when things are layered in our charts, as they have been in mine and lots of other people who've written in, it's never ever just one aspect that affects us. That really is just kind of setting the scene, but it's like you just get loads and loads of little scenes set, and then when they get added together, it's like boom, there you go. So as you can see, or as I've kind of shared with you, things are going to start moving again for me, and I'll give you a sneak peek as to what I'm hoping to do. So I've got a bit of a new look. So my charts, when I do my forecast now, are going to be a bit more they're going to have every part of the chart on there, like every planet. So you can see where everything is. They'll all be represented. And so, yeah, for each 2-week period, I'm going to be talking about what's going on from the start. This is like when the moon goes into Virgo on the 13th. But I'm going to be breaking the whole moon cycle down going forwards, be talking about applying aspects, moon aspects. The next 2 weeks, what's going on? Look at my template. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, yeah, I hope, you know, if you've been wondering what I've been going through, what I'm up to and stuff, I hope that sort of explains, you know, what's been going on. You know, I've wanted to sort of like put a message out for ages. But you know, I've been doing so many courses and a lot of online learning and stuff. And I just know I've gone through so much change, and I'm probably still going to be changing and evolving as well. So I didn't want to like say, oh, this is what I'm doing, and then have to, you know, come back and say, oh, sorry, change of plan. But yeah, I will be coming up with some forecasts real soon. And hopefully, you know, I'll be able to offer a lot more, yeah, a lot more value. It's really important, I think, that the message of connecting people to their own divinity through astrology, but also other methods as well. That's really what I'm about, and so that's what I'm committed to. So anyway, loads of love if you've watched this far, and hopefully I'll see you all soon. But anyway, loads of love. Bye for now.